What if the one thing your dog has been waiting for since the day they met you has absolutely nothing to do with treats or playtime or even how much you love them? What if it is something you do or fail to do dozens of times every single day without ever realizing it? And here is the part that is going to stay with you. Your dog already knows. They have been trying to show you for years. You just did not know what you were looking at. Most owners who watch this to the end tell us the same thing. They sat with their dog afterward and saw them completely differently. Stay with me, because number 4 is the one that changes everything. And I genuinely did not expect the research behind it to be this clear. Welcome back. This channel exists for one reason, to close the gap between you and your dog. Let's get into it. Section 1. The eye contact trap. Let's start with something that happens in almost every home, every single day, and almost nobody questions it. Your dog does something wrong. Chews something, gets into the trash, steals something off the counter, and the moment you catch them, you do what feels completely natural. You stop, you stare, you say their name slowly in that voice. It feels like discipline. It feels like communication. It feels like you are getting the message across. But here is what is actually happening on your dog's side of that moment. In dog social language, the system they are hardwired to use from birth, a direct, sustained, unblinking stare is not a correction. It is a threat signal. It is the same body language a larger dominant animal uses right before a confrontation begins. Your dog's nervous system is not reading "my owner is unhappy with me." It is reading "something dangerous is escalating and I need to make it stop." That freeze you sometimes see, body locked, head dropped, eyes cutting upward, that is not your dog feeling guilty. Guilt is a complex emotion that requires a specific kind of self-awareness researchers have not confirmed in dogs. What you are actually watching is appeasement. That is your dog using every physical signal available to them to communicate "I am not a threat. Please stand down," and if this happens repeatedly. A study in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that dogs exposed to frequent, confrontational interactions with owners, even unintentional ones, showed measurably higher resting, anxiety, and were significantly less likely to approach their owners voluntarily during calm, neutral moments. Think about what that means. The dog who stops coming to you freely, the dog who flinches slightly when you move fast, the dog who loves you but never fully relaxes around you. This is often where that starts. The adjustment is simple. Use your voice to redirect. Use movement to interrupt. Save your eyes for moments of connection and not challenge. Section 2. When they come to you, get out of the way. This next one is subtle. Most people get it backwards their whole lives. Your dog walks over to you while you are sitting quietly. They approach calmly. They press their nose to your hand, your knee, your face, and your immediate instinct is to reach out and start petting them. That instinct feels like love, and it is, but it is your love meeting your need at the exact moment your dog was trying to do something else entirely. Here is what is actually happening. Dogs read the people they are bonded to through scent at a level of detail that is difficult to fully appreciate. Your body chemistry in any given moment carries information about your stress levels, your physical health, your emotional state. That quiet approach your dog just made, that was a deliberate check-in, a real one. They were gathering data on how you are actually doing, not how you look, not what you say, how you are. When you immediately redirect that into a petting session, you interrupt the process. You shift the purpose of the interaction from something they needed to do into something you wanted to receive. Try this instead. The next time your dog initiates that kind of quiet approach, especially the gentle, unprompted kind, keep your hands still. Let them work. Let them take the full time they need. And only once they have finished, once they settle or step back or simply pause with satisfaction, then reach for them. What you will notice is that the contact that follows feels different, calmer, more mutual. Because it is. You let them finish their sentence, and dogs who are allowed to finish their sentences come back with more of them. Section 3. Stop changing their world in silence here. is something we do to dogs constantly that we would never do to someone we love. We rearrange their entire world without a single word of warning. A new baby, a house move, a family member suddenly gone, a new pet arriving, a surgery, a stretch of weeks where your schedule flips completely. To you, every one of those things came with preparation, time to process, context to make sense of it, some idea of what comes next. To your dog, it simply happened. One day the world was one thing, the next day it was unrecognizable, and they have no way to ask why, no way to know if it is permanent, and no framework to make meaning out of the shift. Research from Stockholm University found that dogs showed significantly elevated cortisol, the primary stress hormone, during periods of household disruption. The critical detail: the stress response was substantially worse when the disruption was sudden compared to gradual. You cannot sit your dog down and explain a house move, but you can take them to the new space before moving day. You can keep their feeding and walking routine anchored during a period when everything else is shifting. You can change one thing at a time where possible rather than everything at once. What you should not do is assume they will simply adapt, because sometimes they do. But the internal cost of that adaptation is real. Elevated stress hormones, disrupted sleep, behavioral changes that owners chalk up to stubbornness or mood when they are actually the visible surface of an animal working. Very hard to process something confusing and frightening. Your dog has been waiting every time change came for you to meet them in it rather than leaving them to navigate it alone. Section 4. Let them say no. The big one. Here is the section I mentioned at the start. And I want you to really sit with this one because it is the thing most owners never get told. And it is the thing your dog has been communicating their entire life. Your dog has a language, a real documented consistent language. Not words, but a system of body signals, posture shifts, and micro-expressions that researchers have spent decades studying and mapping. And within that language, they have a very clear way of saying, "I do not want this right now. Please stop. This is too much." The head that slowly turns away. The sudden lick of the lips when nothing food-related is happening. The yawn that appears out of nowhere. The body that goes rigid instead of soft. The slight lean backward when someone reaches toward them. These are not random nervous habits. These are sentences, clearly spoken, consistently meant. And here is the hard part. Most owners do not just miss them. They actively override them, often while believing they are doing something kind. The child who wants to hug the dog. The dog whose body is screaming no in every signal available to them. And the owner who says, "Go ahead. He is fine, he loves kids." The grooming session, where the dog is giving every discomfort signal in the book and the owner who keeps going because it has to get done. The stranger who reaches directly for your dog's head, the most vulnerable, invasive place a human can approach on a dog. And the owner who smiles apologetically and says, "Sorry." He is just a little shy without taking a single step forward. Every single time this plays out, your dog is learning one devastating lesson. My signals do not work. When I communicate, nothing changes. And a dog who has learned their communication does not produce results will eventually stop communicating in the early, quiet ways. They skip the whisper. They go straight to the shout. That is where growling comes from in dogs who were never aggressive before. That is where snapping comes from that owners describe as coming out of nowhere. It did not come from nowhere. It came from 100 quiet no's that were never honored. Research. Out of the University of Bristol's School of Veterinary. Science has found that dogs given genuine autonomy over physical interactions, meaning their signals to stop or withdraw, were respected, displayed fewer anxiety-related behaviors, and built measurably stronger voluntary bonds with their handlers than dogs whose interactions were controlled entirely by the human. Read that again. Less control from you, more trust from them, more bond, not less. This is the shift. When your dog turns their head away, you turn away too. When their body goes still during petting, your hand stops. When a stranger reaches for them and you see that lean back, you step in. You say he would rather say hi on his own terms, and you mean it. Because here is what that does over time. A dog who trusts that their no will be honored does not need to escalate. They can send the earliest, softest signal and wait calmly because experience has taught them it will land. That is not a dog being managed. That is a dog who feels genuinely safe. And a dog who feels genuinely safe becomes the dog you always wanted. Present, open, relaxed, and choosing to be next to you, not because they have no other option, but because you are the person who always listened. We have one section left, and honestly, it is the most overlooked of all 5. It has nothing to do with training or behavior or any specific interaction. It is something that runs underneath everything else. And once you see it, you will understand your dog's entire emotional life differently. Stay with me. Section 5. Be the same person. Every day, not perfect. Not endlessly patient. Not always available. Just the same. Your dog does not need a flawless owner. What they need, more than almost anything else, is an owner they can predict. Consistency in the primary owner, not harshness, not even high engagement, but simple. Reliable sameness is one of the strongest documented factors in a dog's long-term emotional stability. An owner who is warm and playful on weekends but distracted and short during the week, who enforces a rule on Monday and ignores it on Thursday depending on their mood, who sometimes responds to their dog's signals with full attention and sometimes barely looks up. To your dog, that inconsistency is not a minor inconvenience. It is genuinely exhausting. Because they cannot build a reliable map of you. And if they cannot map you, they cannot fully relax around you. Their nervous system stays in a low-level monitoring state, always running a quiet background check. Which version of them is here today? Is this a safe moment or not? The dog you most want, loose, trusting, present, openly affectionate, can only exist when their nervous system has decided the monitoring can stop. And monitoring only stops when the person being monitored has become safe enough to predict. You do not need to be extraordinary. Feed them close to the same time. Walk with the same patience on hard days as easy ones. When they come to you, show up the same way regardless of what your afternoon looked like. Not perfectly, just mostly. Just enough that they stop having to wonder. Your dog has been waiting their whole life for the version of you that is always the version you are. If something in this video landed, if you saw your dog differently, or recognized a moment you want to handle differently going forward, do one thing before you leave: hit like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more dog owners who need this. Drop a comment below telling me which of the 5 you are starting with. I read every single one, and subscribe. Because what we are putting out next goes even deeper into how your dog actually experiences the world around them. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Your dog has been trying to reach you this whole time. You are already closer than you were 10 minutes ago.